Give me a chicken for the backyard and a honey hive. Plant me an apple tree and a grapevine, and I'll be happy and I'll be fine. Self-sufficient in these changing times. Teach us how to milk a cow and how to bake bread. Teach us how to sew well, needle and thread, and we'll be happy and we'll be fine. Self-sufficient in these changing times.
It's a bicycle powered smoothie. That's really good. And of course, it's done without any electricity.
I've been doing workshops and catering for events, teaching people about living foods, and particularly about organic and local seasonal foods. A lot of these vegetables we get from FarmShare goes into juicing, and we also use the pulp, which goes into breads and crackers as well, so nothing's going to waste.
You mentioned there the Hungry Gap. FarmShare is doing what traditional farmers used to do, and that it's growing mostly seasonal veg, and we're coming up now to a time when there's something we call the Hungry Gap. So what can we do about that? How can we deal with the Hungry Gap if we're not going to buy from supermarkets?
Yeah, well, that's where preserving comes into play. So lots of people make preserves and jams and chutneys, which is a great way of preserving the vegetables. We've got the local cordials here as well, which are a great way of preserving fruit, and they're using a lot of hedgerow wild foods as well, sort of foraged foods. And you'll find during the Hungry Gap there's actually quite a lot of wild foraged foods that you can still get that people kind of have forgotten about.
Does that say chilli and lime?
It does, yeah.
Wow. What does that taste like?
It's got a bit of a kick to it.
This is the most we've had down here so far. It's been really nice. There's about 20 people who came down today. So I'm thinking as a kind of some kind of production line system would be good. So people that are happy to bend down can pick the potatoes up and put them into either. We've got some black buckets, and some other people have brought buckets today.
And so people will be able to take the sacks home with them and store them in their garages, sheds, in their kitchens, and work through them over the next month or so. And they'll keep much better than they would do in the ground. That's it.
We've lost the hydraulics on the tractor, which is a bit more work to fix, but this is one of the problems. But we've harvested lots of potatoes, and lots of people have done it. We were talking about Dorothea Lange and looking at the problems with agriculture in the Midwest in the 20s and 30s. Climate change hasn't actually taken us anywhere near to that yet. I mean, if anything, climate change here is giving us some advantages because there are new crops. That I'm kind of passionate about with all of this is the bit that we've lost is actually marketplace. So once upon a time people came together with a number of different crops and a number of different quantities and swapped and exchanged and gave money and so on. We've lost, and why CSA is interesting because it does provide an alternative route to retail. But looking at the past, one of the issues that we do tend to forget, looking at it with our slightly rose-coloured tinted spectacles, is the fact that, of course, a lot of people got very hungry in February, March, and April. The Hungry Gap was named in a very important way. But I'm also very interested in this other concept of bottling, saving, preserving sunshine.
Yes.
We make cider, we freeze, we bottle. We're bottling sunshine for the winter.
You can see how good a place this is. This really means something, and I can come really close to Norwich. I can see where my food's grown, and I get a real feel for it.
What have we got this week?
This week we've got kale, swede, junkin cabbage, potatoes, carrots, and leeks.
Hi, Roger.
Hi.
You're the manager of something called Interface Learning.
Yes, I'm the workshop coordinator for Interface Learning. We have an international men's workshop, which I run, and there's an international friendship group for women and children, which is here on a Saturday. There's an ESOL class for migrant women, which meets here on a Monday, and the space is also used by other community groups.
What's your experience of farm share from your angle here as a manager? It must be a bit strange having lots of vegetables being brought in here all of a sudden.
Well, it's not really about the vegetables, it's really about the people, and it's certainly good to have the space utilised by people who certainly seem to have a synergy with some of our other groups. The vegetables really are neither here nor there.
Well, it started because I was involved in Transition, and I was in a group called the NR3 because Norwich is quite a big city. We decided to have postcodal groups, and NR3 is where I live. And it's a bit of a story because I basically went to a meeting to close down the NR3 group because I'd had enough because no one was coming, and it was kind of me, an older lady who had trouble getting there, and someone who didn't live in NR3, and so it just didn't. And we all kind of. There wasn't really any kind of impetus, and then somebody called Steffi was there for the first time, and we were saying, how can we kind of revive this? And then she said, let's have a party. So we then kind of discussed how that could happen, and that's when, because we were quite near, Magdalen Street is one of the main shopping streets in NR3, or just outside NR3, then that's what we decided to do. And we really only had about 4 months to organise it, and no money. And we just kind of went from there, and I think we did it on about £300 or something.
Why street party? Why did you
well, I think it's like anything. I think when you're trying to, because I'm quite interested in what makes people change, what makes them do things differently.
And what about Magdalen Street? Why Magdalen Street?
I think because it's an amazing street. It's very transitional in the sense that it's nearly all independent shops.
So what sorts of things actually happened on the event? We've had 2 of them, I think.
Yeah. I mean, in the second one, we had even more local people involved because people had started to kind of get the hang of it, if you like. So we had lots of local artists and craftspeople, and then groups. We had the taiko drumming. They opened. Well, they've opened both years, and it was. I think people have always been quite controversial about the flyover and thought it was ugly. But I kind of stood there and thought, this is why there's a flyover because of the acoustics for drumming. Well, this year we had the local YMCA. And they've got some housing along Magdalen Street that young people stay in, and so they actually got involved in volunteering, so that was really nice to see some young people helping clear up the street and clear up the empty shops.
So how does Magdalen Street reimagine the world? I guess when we thought about what we wanted to do, we came up with we see Magdalen Street as really embodying 3 things in Norwich. One is it's the most ethnically diverse neighbourhood. It's the most sustainable set of shops because they're locally owned, and a lot of them are recycled, second-hand, antique, vintage or charity shops, probably more than half. And it's an arty neighbourhood. It's near the art school. A lot of people come. There are craft shops. There are make-it places. So we thought this idea of creativity, diversity, and sustainability encapsulated what the street is about. It's a deprived neighbourhood, but it's a vibrant neighbourhood, and it's perfect as a resilience experiment.